Eating meat it makes us strong, gives us health. People who are vegetarian have to be careful to get enough iron from other places in their diet. And so one of the ways that we want to be healthy and strong is by eating meat. And maybe even there's an element of fixing problems that were created in the universe, and we can elevate all the different aspects of life. On the other hand, it's a dangerous thing. It could lead you to lust. We saw the psukim in the Torah that spoke about how you could be overrun by your desires and chasing after the meat, and maybe even the meat could influence you to be immoral or too materialistic. And so therefore, it could be seen that the Torah gives us many, many mitzvot to make sure that even though we're going to eat meat, we do it in the right way, we do it in a moderation, and it tempers it. And I'm going to give you now a list of 14 mitzvot that have to do with eating meat.
Where can we find them?
In the book that I'm reading from, but it's only in Hebrew, and therefore you can find them right here.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
On the board.
All right.
Write them down.
Write them down.
Okay. Number one.
Just to be clear, the order is irrelevant, correct?
The order is not critical, no. So you cannot eat, or so how do I say the negative?
What are you trying to
You
say?
may not.
Oh, no, you said thou shan't.
Do not
Thou
eat the non-kosher animals. Non-kosher animals, there's terms, we're going to talk about them in detail, but it's called essentially another way of saying is impure animals, like a horse and a lion. They're not kosher animals. Okay, that's number one. Do not eat non-kosher animals. Number two. Yeah. Question already. Duck is kosher. I had some yesterday, the day before yesterday.
I love it.
I hope it's kosher.
I'm like,
That's okay.
I can't stand up.
Number two. But number two is do not eat. I'll just go like this. Do not eat. This is non-kosher animals. And the second one is do eat non-kosher birds. There's a list of non-kosher birds, and we're going to discuss some of those details as well. Okay, so that's mitzvah number three. Mitzvah number two. Mitzvah number three is same thing. Do not eat non-kosher fish. Thank you. Very good.
What is this list? Where is it? First of it?
The list
Yeah.
in the Pnei Halacha I'm reading from.
Okay.
Number 4. Do not eat non-kosher.
Milk.
We see grasshoppers.
Insects.
Insects.
Locust. Locust.
Bugs.
Yeah.
Arthropods.
Warming arthropod.
Arthropod is a scientific term for a bug.
The scientific term, whatever it is. There are some that are kosher. That's what's surprising. People don't know that. There's some kosher grasshoppers.
Yeah.
I've never had any. You've had some?
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. We ordered when we were back in America years ago. We ordered some locusts from Israel.
Amazing, amazing, very interesting. We'll talk about them. Number 5. Yeah.
What word does he use for grasshoppers?
In Hebrew, he says chagavim. Chagavim tmeim. Chagav is grasshopper.
Do not eat.
Number 5. Do not eat. And here, they're all not kosher. This next category is we'll call them bugs. Call them crawling bugs, flying bugs, in the water, frogs. What's the term to use for this one? I'll just write bugs. Okay. You're not allowed to have those kind of creatures, okay? Crawling, creepy crawling creatures, and flying creatures also, but
Do not eat bugs.
do not eat bugs. Yes, number 6. Now, of course, number 1 is already, you're only never going to start with a non-kosher animal. Even if you do have a kosher animal, you have to do shechita. Shechita is kosher slaughter. You have to slaughter an animal in a kosher way. All right, kosher slaughter. Matter of fact, it's fascinating. While we're on the topic, and since a lot of us, we've been discussing this issue of the oral Torah over Hanukkah, this is an interesting proof people bring for the fact that there was an oral Torah as a companion to the written Torah. Many people get the impression that, okay, the written Torah, that's really ancient. Oral Torah is stuff that the rabbis made up afterwards. We find, when the Torah says, when you want to eat meat,
You shall kill it in the manner which I command.
excellent, you should slaughter it in the manner which I have commanded you. It's in the past tense. In the manner that I have commanded you. And then we start flipping the pages of the Chumash. There's no instructions anywhere for the manner that I have commanded you. So this is one pasuk that people point out that seemed to indicate that there was stuff that was not written down. But it was still commanded. God commanded us to do it, but it was just passed down orally. Anyways, kosher slaughter is a 6th mitzvah associated with eating meat. Right? These are commandments regarding eating meat. Okay, number 7. This we saw in the pasuk yesterday. One of the pasukim says, "Do not eat." What did we see? Do not eat blood. Eat the blood of the animal. Number 8. We saw this in the pasuk as well. That you have to cover the blood. That's after you slaughter the animal, right? After you slaughter it, there's blood. You've got to cover it. That only applies to certain types of animals. We're going to get into the details of which animals. We said yesterday it's called chaya and birds. Birds, if you there's a mitzvah of kisui hadam in Hebrew, covering the blood. Number 9. There is do not eat. Do not eat. Chaylev is the Hebrew term. That's good. Forbidden fats. There are, if you get a steak and you see some fat in there, entrecôte, that's the most yummiest part. It's not healthy. Don't eat it. But it's not forbidden. It's only there's a specific fatty parts of the animal that have to be thrown out. You cannot eat them.
Were the ancient Israelites trying to be very healthy?
I think it's not about health. It's a good question. Where does all these Kashrut laws come from? What's the motivation? And some people wanted to say that it's hygiene.
It's
People
health
wanted
for
to
the
say,
soul. So
there.
Do not, sorry, Biddies, do not eat forbidden?
Forbidden fats.
Forbidden fat.
I'm going to go over to the next column, so we don't run out of room. Number 10. Yeah, so this is do not eat. This is kosher animals. Kosher animals that were not shechted properly, or that died without, that were not slaughtered.
Doesn't that go along with
Kosher slaughter.
Kosher slaughter?
Absolutely.
So
This is many times a phenomenon we find in the Jewish tradition, where we have a positive commandment and a negative commandment, which are two sides of the same coin. So it's officially 2 commandments. If you violate it, you violate one, you violate both, right? You're absolutely right. This is the flip side
Why
of
does
this
that
one.
happen? Like, why is it listed like?
It's a good question. Most people say it gives it more emphasis, strengthens, it doubles the prohibition. So you gotta be really careful about that. Don't eat animals. Basically, I'm not gonna put it on the board, and I'm gonna deny it if anybody says that this is what I say the mitzvah of the Torah is. But this is do not eat roadkill, okay? You just get, we talked about hunting the other day, right? That's why you can't hunt.
Don't eat like a dead.
Yeah, just a dead animal like that, that's just found like that, because it's not slaughtered. So that's mitzvah number 10. Number 11. Number 11 is do not eat something called a terefa.
Oh, that's where the Yiddish word treif comes from.
That's where the Yiddish word treif comes from. The Hebrew word is terefa. Now, what is a terefa?
It's torn.
Sing it.
It's like a pig or a hog.
No, pig or hog are these non-kosher animals. A terefa, as Moshe said, colloquially, we use that for anything non-kosher. We say anything non-kosher, even if it's got blood, we say it's treif. It's treif, it's not kosher. But there is actually a term, specific term called terefa, which is a specific law. Yeah, Yeshua, want to tell me what it is?
Yes, when you cut it and it rips it, it's like a torn in the shechita itself.
Good. It's a non-kosher slaughter. When the slaughter is not kosher, you slaughter it, but you didn't do it properly, it's called terefa.
The halal meat is always treif. Because when they go back the second time with it tears it.
Okay, sounds good, yes.
So, but isn't the modern Hebrew term terefa based on the Hebrew word?
Absolutely.
The Yiddish word, treif?
Yes. But for
Why-
some
why-
reason,
why-
number 11 became a word which is a catch-all for all these 14
So it's not in the
mitzvot.
Torah, it's not in the Torah.
The word is used for number 11, but it's not used in the Torah as a catch-all phrase for anything non-kosher.
Later.
It's a later usage, correct, yes. So a terefa is an animal that was not, well, the truth is, I wanna correct Yeshua. Yeshua, you had me with you, but I think you're wrong. Terefa is not a problem with the slaughter. Problem with the slaughter is number 10, right? Animals that's not slaughtered properly is number 10.
If you
Terefa
cut it
number
and
11.
tear it, it's fine.
No, that's number 9. Number 10 is a problem that there's something else that's wrong with the animal that makes it not kosher. It has a wound, which it would die from. That's what somebody said, it's about hygiene, health. If the animal's not healthy, it's not kosher. That's the real original meaning of trefa, is that there's something, there's a blemish. Do not eat trefa. I'll say in English that means a blemished animal. A blemished animal. And of course, there's a list of what is considered to be a halachically significant blemish. If an animal has a zit, if he's got some acne, if he's got skin condition, that doesn't make it blemished. But there is a list of, if he's got a hole in his lung, that's a blemish. That makes it a
We call that
trefa.
treif?
That's trefa. That's a trefa. Yeah, it's a trefa. Hole in the lung. This is common. I think this is what someone was referring to, different types of shechita. Yes, Alex?
Is there a way that a shochet checks before he slaughters an animal?
Absolutely. The animal has to be checked to make sure that it doesn't have any one of these blemishes. There's a list of, if I'm not mistaken, it's 48 blemishes. Yeah. A broken bone.
If it's sick, another one?
Sick, and it's going to die within the year. It's called a trefa. You can't eat sick meat. Besides that, you're going to get sick. It's a prohibition of the Torah. It's considered to be prohibited. So that's the laws of health of the animals they jive very well with the halachic rules because of number 11. Number 12. This we mentioned yesterday as one of the 7 Noachide laws. Do not eat. Do not
Live animals.
eat, right, flesh of a live animal. Okay?
Or Eber.
In case you, Aver Minachai is the Hebrew term for that. That's right. Not in flesh of the life animal. Number 13. Number 13 is, we had it in the Parsha a few weeks ago. Do not eat the, many people call it the sciatic nerve. Gida Nashe in Hebrew. It's a specific vein, nerve, which you're not allowed to eat it. If you're really, really good at what you do, if you're a good butcher, there's a Yiddish word for it, it's called a traeger. Someone who knows how to de-vein or de-nerve the animal, the hind leg of the animal, in such a way that all the forbidden part is taken out, including the covering, the fats which is directly on it. You have to know how to get all those tiny little veins out, and then the hind leg, the rest of it can be kosher, but you're not allowed to eat the sciatic nerve. At many places, they don't bother. They don't have the expertise. They just sell the hind part of the animal to the non-Jews. Let them have that part. I believe that's why filet mignon is so hard to get, a kosher filet mignon.
What?
I found it, and it's
You can
it's
find
like
it, but
no, you can find it. It's
expensive.
ridiculous. It's like for a kilogram, it could cost you like 200 shekels even.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Hirsch. Yeah.
Why are the commandments 2 from 5 have blank words?
Because it's the same words as number 1. This is a convention. Do not eat non-kosher
Okay.
birds. Do not eat non-kosher fish. Okay, last one.
Sorry, sir.
No problem.
Why is the grasshoppers and bugs repeated? And wouldn't that under that umbrella do not?
Oh, there's different types. Grasshoppers is one type of creature, and other bugs,
Halach.
creepy, crawling things. Yeah.
Okay.
Next, the last one is, now this you might have heard of, that it actually has 3 parts. And that is, do not eat meat and milk. And I say it has 2 parts because do not cook meat and milk. It's also a prohibition. As a matter of fact, it's even prohibited to have any benefit. Do not have any benefit from meat and milk. So that takes up which meat? It has to be kosher meat.
No, benefits.
Benefit, it means like to make money.
So you can't own a restaurant. You can't own a restaurant that
Right.
serves.
Shares in McDonald's might be problematic.
But actually, Rob, I have a question about that.
No, I just
So-
sold shares from coffee.
I am invested in the S&P 500. Okay, in that basket, it's 500 companies.
Yes.
And even then, there's more
Right.
than that because companies have subsidiaries.
The custom is to be lenient about it. but
There
there's a
are,
lot of
there's definitely
discussions.
non-kosher restaurants in there, and I'm definitely making money because of it.
Right,
Because, like,
right.
there's
Making
dividends.
money off trade.
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Right? Treif is no problem. This is a problem. No, there's no prohibition of benefit from a non-kosher animal from pig, believe it or not. That's why you can be a good kosher Jew who plays football with the pigskin. Nothing wrong. Oh, they don't make them from pigskin anymore. But when they used to, you can benefit from pigskin. You can benefit from the non-kosher grasshoppers. You can benefit from creepy crawly things. You can benefit from non-kosher slaughter as well.
Makes sense.
Only milk and meat.
It's permissible to sell. More permissible to sell pork chops
That's
than it is to sell cheeseburgers.
That's correct. 100%.
Excuse me, sir,
That's
my
right.
apologies.
Yes.
So you said, do not eat non-kosher birds, do not eat non-kosher fish, do not eat non-kosher grasshoppers, but is there such thing as a kosher bug?
No, there is a kosher grasshopper though. That's what.
A
What?
grasshopper is
Yeah.
okay.
You came in a little late. We talked about it. There is such a thing as a kosher grasshopper.
Hang on. What if the beef itself is not kosher, but then it is mixed with milk? Is that still prohibited?
No, I mean, it's still
Oh.
prohibited because it's not kosher meat, but it's
No,
not
but
prohibited from
beneficial.
benefit, no.
Okay, so McDonald's is acceptable to own shares of stock in
Yes,
because of
that's right, assuming, yeah.
because
Assuming they
the
don't
meat
take
itself is
kosher
not
slaughter.
kosher.
Right,
Yeah.
correct, yeah. You're right. Okay, so this is our list of 14. So good?
I love
So
that.
far, so good?
There is filet mignon kosher.
Yes.
There is.
Yeah.
It's very expensive, as I said, it's like 200 a kilo.
So Moshe, I don't think you can own stock in McDonald's because there are kosher McDonald's.
There are kosher McDonald's.
But if they're kosher, they're kosher.
But they don't mix milk and meat.
If they're kosher, they separate the mix and the.
They don't have milkshakes here at McDonald's.
They do actually, but it's
Depends
technically a
which
second
McDonald's.
restaurant,
There's different McDonald's. In Beit Shemesh, I was just there yesterday, there's a kosher McDonald's.
yeah. There's one really cool
Best
spot.
French
Mahadran?
fries, by the way. I don't remember, I didn't see.
No,
I've never
no,
seen
it's-
any
it's-
I
Mahadran.
didn't
It's
see.
it's a lower level of kashrut.
That's what I thought.
Well, it's still kosher, it's still kosher.
Not
We talk
milk and
about the
meat.
different levels of kashrut, like the levels.
Yeah, we can, somebody asked me this
I
morning.
asked her about that this morning,
Yeah,
because
session.
she-
Definitely
will
have
have
that, for sure.
Sure.
Okay, so far so good. Now, there's some mitzvot in the Torah which make a lot of sense. Honor your father and mother. Love your neighbor as yourself. Give charity. Usually we call those, it's a category of mitzvot called, anybody know what those are called in Hebrew? There's things that make sense. We're not looking for, they're not all ben adam l'chavero, although you're right, many of them are. But usually what I'm looking for is the category called mishpatim. Mishpatim,
Camels.
no, mishpatim means laws. But, all these words are going to mean laws. But in Hebrew, there's a different shade of meaning for each one. And usually the ones which make sense are called mishpatim. However, there's another type of mitzvot which, if the Torah didn't say them, we wouldn't think of them on our own. Those are called usually, anybody? Chukim. Right, I gave you chukim and mishpatim. In English, I would just say laws and laws. Statutes and laws, sometimes chukim is translated statutes, it just means laws.
Chukim is more like a demand. It's a
Could be,
demand from
could be.
Hashem.
Right.
Right, like,
The point is that, which are better? Which mitzvot do you like better?
the mishpatim make more sense.
Right.
Make sense logically, but the
Right.
chukim,
Right?
when you
They-
follow the chukim, it means that, it truly means that you have devotion to Hashem.
Which
Because if
one
you-
shows more devotion to Hashem?
The chukim,
Why?
because, like, obviously, like, even an atheist, you know, like an absolute atheist would probably not kill. Why
Right.
would you not kill?
Right.
Because it's wrong to kill. He's following he would hypothetically be following the mitzvah, or the commandment of thou shalt not kill.
Hypothetical.
But, you know, to put on tefillin, putting on tefillin really does not make sense. Yet we do it anyway, and we spend a lot of money on tefillin. So you saying that you're not gonna kill, you know, even if you weren't raised Jewish, you would not kill.
Right, right,
So following that commandment, there's not much extra to that.
right.
But
So following the
you put on-
chukim expresses
is that-
your dedication to the mitzvot
Yeah.
of God
Yes.
that are written in the Torah in a way that the more understandable mitzvot don't express. Yes, I agree, yeah.
I actually have to disagree with that.
Good.
Because the problem with, at least in my view, of mitzvot where we know the reason, is if you disagree with the reason, then you now have a valid reason not to keep that mitzvah. Whereas the mitzvot where you don't have a reason, you just do it. There's no reason to disagree or agree with.
Well, the reason to disagree is because you want to have a cheeseburger. The reason is because you're hungry or because you know.
If you're
Why should you
starving,
keep some laws that you don't
I can
understand?
disagree with the
problem-
chukim
The
easily.
Yetzer Hara is always
The
there.
problem with the reason is that if you can find a way to disprove the reason, the mitzvah no longer applies.
Right.
Whereas when you don't have a reason, it could be a completely different reason. It's got nothing to do with whether you wanted it.
I can disagree with the chukim by just saying tefillin are expensive, stupid, and impractical.
So do that, but you haven't disproven the whole concept.
I just did,
How
I just did.
can you disprove?
They're expensive.
What
They're
constitutes
impractical.
disproving? We need to talk about what constitutes what here.
Because it's
That's,
what
so that's
is
not
our-
mishpat, that's chukim.
No, it isn't. There's a clear reason why you're not supposed to
So
do
what's
it.
the reason?
Because the idol worshippers of the time used to do that. You don't want to be like them.
Okay, so it's not a question of, I think let's clarify our terms a little bit. It's not a question of these you can prove and these you can disprove. It's not a question that we do the mishpatim because we understand the reasons or not. We're doing them all because of the word of God. But we notice that among the 613 commandments, we can roughly put them into two categories. Ones which make more sense, ones which make no sense, or we can't figure out, we don't know why God said that, not to eat meat and milk. We can't understand. So those are the two rough categories. We accept them both. We keep them both, whether or not we understand the reason or not. And there's definitely room to argue for, these mitzvot are better than those mitzvot. But when it comes to showing your devotion to God, particularly, I think I agree that Moshe is in the right track, that it shows your devotion to God more when you do something that you have no other reason to do. It's not part of the natural law. It's not something that you can understand readily. So that's the basis, is that we do both types. And maybe even there's an element where it's maybe even better that we fulfill the chukim, the ones that we don't understand. But after we've said that, now, that doesn't mean God wants us to turn off our mind. And He doesn't want us to try to understand all of the mitzvot, even the ones which, at first glance, we don't understand. In other words, what we're now going to talk about is, maybe we can figure out a reason for the chukim nonetheless. And, we mentioned yesterday, just briefly, we talked about, now we even said hygiene, right? Some people say you should keeping the laws of kosher, make you healthier. There's all sorts of reasons. The most basic one, and this comes a term which we've mentioned before, but we're going to mention again, you might recognize the word. There's something called, there's a mitzvah in the Torah, another mitzvah in the Torah called chukot, which is the plural of chok. The singular is chok, by the way. Chukim is in plural, singular is chok. Right, the O turns into a U when in the plural. And so this is plural, chukot. Instead of chukim, it's chukot, just another form of the plurals, the masculine versus the feminine. Chukot ha-goyim. You might have heard of this mitzvah. There are certain things that you're not allowed to do because they are the statutes or the laws of the non-Jews. And so we see the same word is used, and that leads us to the perhaps understanding that one of the reasons for many of the statutes is to separate us off from the non-Jews. Even without any, rationale of hygiene or rationale of the, mystical meanings, there's a very practical reason nowadays when we have in America, I think it's over 80% of assimilation. So the fact that we have an issue of retaining our identity as separate as a people is something which we can understand, that perhaps this is one of the ideas behind this list of mitzvot which we wouldn't have thought of otherwise, but it separates us from the nations. If you could all pick up a Chumash, open up Vayikra, chapter 20. The Torah seems to put them together. Vayikra 20, verse 23.
Page
First one to find it gets
20, 23,
A kiss.
already found it.
Yeah, but what page in the book that's in front of you? Moshe,
Okay,
pass the
20
book
is
to your neighbor.
225.
Thank you.
Vayikra 20 is 225.
225,
What pasuk?
Vayikra 20, verse 23.
226.
Page 226.
225.
Okay.
226.
Alex Cadena, I'm so happy that you're here and you're finished chewing so you can read for us. Please read verse 23. It's on page 226.
You shall not walk in the manners of the nations.
By the way, stop there. The manners of the nations. Chukot hagoyim is the Hebrew. Lo telchu bechukot hagoyim. You see that in the Hebrew?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Not walk in the manner of the nations.
I read that in the Kids for Shulchan Aruch.
Amazing.
So like not walk as they do.
Even walking, like physically
Yeah,
walking.
physically
Like you're
walking.
striding.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. I don't know that there is a particular non-Jewish gait.
I
But-
think there is like a Jewish walk. Like,
Is there?
I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's me, kind of like deterministically
Still
looking.
walk very humbly.
But like I see like how Rabbi have a particular like
Interesting.
way of walking. That's
That's really like a Karaite
Ru-
version, right? 'Cause the Torah meant the ways. It didn't mean stride. It mean to in the different. Now the pasuk is going to continue to say what are the ways of the non-Jews that you're supposed to stay away from. Alex, go ahead. Read. Go ahead. Finish.
You shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them.
Go ahead.
But I have said unto you, you shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that flows with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people.
Keep going.
You shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. You shall not make your souls abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean.
So you see listed number 1 and number 4 and number 5. So there's a list of some of the mitzvot about eating meat, which are mentioned here when it says, do not do what the non-Jews do. So it stands to reason that even though we don't know really the reason for these, the Torah says, at least some of them are connected to this idea of separating yourselves and don't do like the nations of the land are doing. And then there's one more verse which is very important. Go ahead, Alex.
And you shall be holy unto me, for I, the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that you should be mine.
So holiness is usually interpreted to mean separation. Something which is holy is other. It's holy other. It's very different. And so just God says, oh, I'm holy, I'm different, so you have to be different. And in a different way, obviously God doesn't eat meat, but we have to be separate from the nations around us. And if not, if you don't keep these mitzvot, which keep you different, then you're just going to be like a goy. You'll be walking in the manner of the non-Jews. And so the first thing that we can say about these rules is that they separate us from the nations, and it's true on many levels. Eating kosher, you can't go out to eat with your non-Jewish friends so easily. It's definitely a marker. It's a social separation. And the Torah seems to be saying, of course, the original text was talking about the pagans and the 7 nations which were in the land of Canaan. We don't have them anymore. But the rules of kosher were definitely presented in the Torah, connected somewhat to this idea of being separate from the nations. I'll take questions first, and then Yaakov.
Is mishpat spelled with a tet at the end?
Yes. Yes.
Could you clarify the interpretation of the line, "Ye shall not make your souls abominable"? I can't say the word.
Abominable.
There we go. Yes, like 25. Like what by beast? What does that mean there? Line 25.
Yeah. So this is interesting. It's a good thing you pointed out, because it says that if you eat this non-kosher animal or this non-kosher
You become an
bird,
abomination.
you somehow defile your soul. So this is why we take the laws of Kashrut maybe even more seriously, or we pay serious attention to it, even more than other mitzvot like do not steal. Even do not steal, that's forbidden from the Torah, and that's forbidden from the Torah. But this one, and of course, morally, which one is worse? So obviously to steal from your neighbor is very immoral. But when it comes to the effect on your soul, here we have a pasuk that says explicitly, your soul will become defiled. That was it, abominable, whatever the translation is. It sounds like somehow you
What's the Hebrew word?
lo teshakzu et nafshotechem. Do not, sheket is some kind of disgusting. Do not make your souls disgusting. So there is this concept that perhaps by imbibing non-kosher food, this non-kosher bugs, for example, it will somehow have an impact on your soul. So nobody wants to have a defiled soul, right? So this is an element which you have an object which is like poison, whereas in the other mitzvot, like don't steal, so you have an action which is forbidden, but you're not imbibing poison into your body and into your soul. So that's another reason why we have to take very seriously the laws of kosher. Okay, I'll stop here for today. Continue tomorrow. It's a good introduction, right?
Very good.
Okay. 14 mitzvot associated with eating meat. Have a good one.
Thank you.